Hi everyone, it's Kristy here from KristyCoromandel.com and welcome to day 5 of our holiday Blitz. 30 projects in 30 days. So here are the items that you're going to need for this project today. We're going to need our card base out of real red cardstock. And then I've got another piece which is about a 1/4 inch shorter than this one here. So therefore in Australia that is 5 5/8 by 3 7/8 of an inch. I've got a scrap piece of Cormy Clover cardstock. I've got a scrap piece of Whisper White. I've got a piece of vellum that measures 1 inch by approximately 4 1/4 inches going across. And I've also die cutted my word Merry from gold glimmer paper using my Merry Christmas Thinlet dies. They've got these nice word dies right here. So I've just done the Merry in my gold glimmer paper and my die cutting machine. So some of the tools that you are going to need, or actually the stamp set first you're going to need, is the Merry Christmas to All. You're going to need your spring punch here. You also will need some Snowfall Accent Puff Paint. I have some ribbon. This is my real red cotton ribbon. And I'm going to need my Timeless Label punch right here. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to need is my scrap piece of Whisper White. And I've gone ahead and I've mounted the word, the and bright. Okay, so it comes as 2 stamps. So I've just gone ahead and aligned that up onto my grid paper and I've added that to my block. And I'm going to stamp this onto my scrap using a real red ink. And as this is a photopolymer stamp, I'm going to use my stamping mat here as well. So I can ink this up. And I'm going to stamp this as close to the bottom and the left hand side as possible. Okay, and now to finish that off, I am just going to cut around that using a pair of paper snips. You can always use your trimmer to trim this down if you wish. I just feel more comfortable using my paper snips. Okay, so there's that there. I'm going to set that aside for a moment. Okay, so the next thing I've got here is my Cormy Clover cardstock and my spring punch. So I'm going to cut about 4 of these springs using this cardstock. Okay, so there's my springs right there. And then here with my piece of vellum, which measures 1 inch high and approximately 4 1/4 long, is I want this to be a little bit longer, or about the same size actually as my cardstock here. So all I'm going to do is mark a pen line or pencil, whatever works easiest for you, right about there, because that's when I want to cut it off. And I want to use this end, like I want to have that kind of at the each end, but because I don't want to shorten it, I'm going to show you a trick on how we can achieve that. So I'm going to turn my punch over, I'm going to slide this in carefully, and I'm going to then punch it. And then I'm going to do the same again on the other end. But this time I'm going to make sure it goes right up to that pencil mark that we made and punch it. And then I've got my 2 little ends now that have been die cutted out. So then I've got this nice little length here. Now our Merry that we had previously cut, I'm going to stick this down to my vellum using my fine tip glue pen. Now as this does overlap onto my vellum, as you can see, I'm only going to put adhesive towards the bottom end of my Merry. So let's go ahead and do that and stick that down. Okay, so that's all nicely stuck down now. And then my bright, I'm going to stick down the bottom here just using my liquid adhesive. So I can stick that down underneath my Mary. And then I'm just going to put a block on that to hold that in place. Actually, I might straighten that first. Okay, to hold that in place so it doesn't move. So next here I've got my cotton trim, and I'm just going to place this over the top of my real red cardstock that I've got here, and I can trim off the end. And I'm going to stick this down. Now there's a couple of ways you can stick this down. You can stick this down with glue dots, which is what I'm going to do, or you can stick it down with some tear tape. So I'm just going to place my glue dots not quite at the edge of my ribbon, but just in a bit, because we're going to trim those ends. And then I can lay this over the top of my, using my grid paper as a guide. Make sure that's nice and straight. And then I'm just going to use my scissors and trim that. Like so. Okay, so here's my Mary. It's going to go like this, just smack in the middle over the top of my ribbon. But first what we want to do is we're going to put down my little springs, and I'm going to adhere those with glue dots. So I'm going to whack a glue dot on it, and I'm going to stick it underneath the words right here. Okay, got this other one here. This way it's giving the sense of dimension with not having to have it all glued down. And then I'm just going to line this one underneath just to give it a sense of layering. Okay, and we'll do the same thing on this side as well. Like that. So what? Like so, and then we'll stick this down, spread those out a bit. Okay, and then I'm going to stick this down now using some Stampin' Dimensionals. So I've got my mini dimensionals here to give me a hand. So I'm going to stick these on the back because we don't want vellum to show through. So I'm going to try and hide it where the, you know, so I'm going to try and hide it behind some of the pieces that are already there. So I can hide it behind a spring, one of those things. I can cut this one in half and hide this behind some of the lettering that I've got there. Right there. Might put another one right here on the M. Okay, and then let's stick those down. Over the top of my ribbon, so my ribbon is centered. Using my grid paper as a measuring tool. We can see that that's all now stuck down. Then I'm going to simply stick my card front down or card onto my card base, leaving equal borders around all four sides. And to finish it off, I'm going to use some of our Snowfall Accent Puff Paint. Now you can leave it as is, but I'm going to use this puff paint. Now here's a couple of tips when using your puff paint. First is you've got to give the bottle a really good shake. Okay, you want to shake that all around, and then you can unscrew it and squeeze some onto your leaf springs here. Now the tip is you don't want too much, okay? So it does get a bit bubbly. So just be careful when you squeeze it out of the bottle that you're squeezing ever so carefully. And you just put it on the parts that you want to puff up. So we'll do some over on this side as well. Okay, and then you get your heat gun out. Now the best thing to do is have your heat gun on the hot setting and heat it up before you get to your project. And then what you want to do is, you'll see it change and puff up. Now the more you heat it, the bigger the puff or the bubble is going to be. So I only want little ones, so I'm not going to heat it too long. I'm going to heat it till I see it change. And then I'm going to simply stop and move on to the next one. So you can see how quickly that was to puff that up. And you can touch them and they're nice little squishy little, they feel so cool. You should try it. Looks great. So there's our project for today for day 5. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for extra project tutorials and tips and techniques. And I'll catch you tomorrow for another Holiday Blitz project tutorial. See you again soon. Bye for now.
Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse